it's just this last time I was back, a couple of the members on our team that were helping with the relief work told me about how they got lost coming home one night, and they got lost in the mountains, and then they came out to the coastline through a different road, just kind of working their way in that direction. And they came through this small group of houses, maybe like 4 or 5 houses, and there was no electricity. Everything was pitch black, and they could see that there were a few people, and they were all together in one place, but they just didn't seem to have anything. But because it was night, they had gone. They just drove on through, and they told me about this. And so when my first delivery this time was to a junior high school. There's a junior high school in Kesenuma City with 310. That's a middle school. We would call it middle school here. 310 students. And of those, 130 of the students lost their homes.
Oh.
And no home to go home to.
Wow.
So they were all in the shelters.
They were all there.
Yeah. And what happened is, in Japan, June 1st is the day that they changed from their winter uniform to their summer uniform. But their summer uniform, they need short sleeve white shirts. And the school was wondering what to do. Well, we heard about this, so we contacted the school and we said we'd like to give these kids their shirts. And we got the company that sells the uniforms to bring in with extra boxes of different sizes. And after school, we had those 130 kids stay back, and we each gave them 2 new clean white shirts to wear with their uniforms. And they were really happy. They were just totally happy.
Were.
Yes, they were. It was so nice.
That.
It was so nice.
I'm sure just giving them help.
But new clothes cost money,
mm-hmm.
and that's where everyone's help made a difference. And that was where that was the second time we had hit zero on our funds, and I was headed back to Japan. Arriving in Japan, we had some more funds, and we were able to right away take that and use that to buy those shirts for those kids. Another thing was for their their annual sports meet, they needed transportation. I was able to line that up and help them with that too. And it's these needs are all over, but you need to be able to find out where they are and help them without wasting your resources.
Right.
And if you do exactly what they ask you to do, because that's what they need, then they are so appreciative.
I bet.
There's so much of this goes on where it says, "Okay, I have this. Here, take it. If use it, please." And after the people leave the relief goods, they sit there and they look at it and they say, "Now, what are you supposed to do with all that?" This happens too often. So it's much better if you can come up with a system where you hear the need,
mm-hmm.
you deliver it immediately. Hear the need, you deliver it immediately. Well, on the way back from, getting back to my story there, on the way back from the school, I dropped by. We figured out on the map where that little group of houses was, about 1 mile up from the ocean through the valleys.
Right.
And they had all kinds of other people's houses washed up the valley to their place. And we found them, and they were in the fields. And my friend and I went walking over. My friend was Japanese, and we went walking over, and they said, "Are you from the media?" And I said, "No." And I spoke Japanese, so that they kind of felt relaxed. They probably thought it was somebody from overseas, some media person from overseas with his interpreter.
Right.
But then
mm-hmm.
we spoke Japanese, and everything cleared up, and we started joking around a little bit. And I says, "What do you guys need? If I was to bring you something right now today, what would you want?" And their question, and this is 2.5 months after the earthquake, was drinking water.
They still needed water?
Yes.
Wow.
That was what they said, drinking water. And I'm like, drinking water? I thought that had been hand cleared long ago.
Right.
But because 2 or 3 of their homes were still okay, that 4 or 5 families didn't qualify to move into the shelters, yet they were so far away from the center of town that city officials didn't have time to get to them. So they had completely fallen through the cracks.
And you just happened to find these people.
And my two buddies, had wandered into the mountains and made the wrong turn. So when they came out, they had seen him. So then we Googled their place, and we looked at it from the sky, and they said, yes, it's exactly this valley. So on the way back, we made a point of dropping by. Well, I was stunned to hear somebody say they needed drinking water.
Yes.
And so I then said, what else do you need? Same thing. For us to ask for more at a time like this wouldn't be right, is what they say. And I'm like, yes, but you need more. What is it? Well, we picked it up, made our own shopping list for them. And as we drove back to Sendai City, which is about 2.5 hours away from there, I started making the calls. First, I secured a truck to deliver the goods. Then I secured a shopping team. Then I secured somebody else to help arrange, check the stuff we have in stock. Mm-hmm. And to make a long story short, by 11 o'clock the next morning, we had all of our shopping done. We had everything we needed and extra stuff plus that we thought they could use. We turned around and went back at about 1:30 that afternoon. We had just said goodbye to them about 4:30. 1:30 the next morning, afternoon. I mean, we drove up, and it's like,
they probably never thought
what
you'd
do you
be back.
What do you expect so soon? So they're just going to look stunned. And so then they went and called the people together, and we gave them their water. We had 300 liters of that. Drinking water. And then I bought rice, because one thing, if they do have cash, then they don't have to go buy their rice, and they can go buy things they need at that time.
Right.
So, and rice will keep. So I had bought about 50 pounds for each family, and then I brought about vegetables and meat and fruit, fish, and some of the other things that I thought they could use. Like one thing that Japan has is kind of these sticky papers that are kind of curled together, and you pull it out like this, and you hang it. And what happens? The flies all come and stick to it. Okay.
Yes, I think I've seen those.
Yeah, and that you wouldn't be surprised how practical that is right now, because inside of all of this litter is this stuff that is rotting.
Yeah.
And the flies, they say this year, are just terrible right there now. And so just hang those around your house. You're doing yourself a big favor. And so I've been telling my guys to, hey, buy up on those, because there's no end to people needing those. But you have to be there to pick up on that.
Right, exactly.
You have to be there to pick up on it. So we delivered. We left a bicycle then for the four families there to use. Also a grass cutter, one of these kind where you have a blade on the end and you go around like this, and a few other things, boots and some more blankets and stuff. And they were just really happy. And as I was leaving one of the grandmas, I heard a grandma say to another lady, she says, boy, I haven't been this happy since the earthquake hit.
Aww.
And she wasn't talking to me, she was talking to her friend.
Yeah.
Just as we were getting ready to leave. And I thought, wow, that made my day.
Yeah, I bet.
And so these stories just continue. And they just keep going and going.
Now, that was your second trip.
That was my second trip. And my first trip, I was seeing more of the devastation. This one ship that everybody's used to seeing on the news, right? Half a mile inland. This great big ship, I don't know, 500 tons, 700 tons, I don't know how it could get there, but it got there.
I've seen that picture.
Yes.
And it is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
For us here in America, I've watched the news, I've watched, some of the clips that have come in. It just doesn't seem real. Mm-hmm. So, to see that ship.
Yeah, and you'll see in one of the clippings that we'll put on later. Actually, I stood by
like a toy.
Yeah.
Until you were standing there.
I was standing there by the propeller there, and I think it's about 10 feet high, the propeller is, and the ship is just above that. And I'm thinking, how much water do you need to float that thing in half a mile inland?
Right.
It's just beyond.
It's beyond.
Yeah, comprehension.
The power.
Yes.
Not only the height of the wave, but the power behind it.
And
must have been
in
incredible.
that city, I went the first time. I met this Mr. and Mrs. Sato. He was at work on the coast. He came running home in 10 minutes where it takes him 15 minutes. He found his wife and his mother upstairs in their house with water. waiting for the tsunami to hit. He had misunderstood the news and misheard the number. He heard a number that was worse than what it actually was, like 100 meters. And he thought, how can that be? But he thought it's going to be bad. He went home and says, you're not going to be saved if you're only on the upstairs here. So he took them out and took them to higher grounds. And because he was kind of in charge of the neighborhood there, he went around with his megaphone trying to gather everybody up as fast as he could to get into the buildings and get upstairs in the higher buildings, the 5-story, 6-story buildings. And he was on his way, rushing back to where his wife and his mother were. And he looked behind, and the tidal wave was only 40 yards behind him. The water was coming. He thought, I'm not going to make it. And so he went into one of these buildings, too. And this was a 5-story building. Well, his wife and his mom thought he was gone.
He was gone. Oh.
They managed to get up on the roof with the blue tarp. It snowed that night. But the whole city wasn't burning. And the heat from the fire saved them, actually.
Wow. The stories are incredible.
Yes, there's no way to it. I don't have them all organized here, but I could go on and on.
I know, and I want to hear more. But our show is coming to an end, and I want people to know where they can reach you, and also a website that they can go to where they can get more information and possibly be able to help these people get their needs met, because they're not out of trouble.
No, the needs continue. They're just in the things, their needs change, but the needs continue and on the same scope, and we need to continue helping them. The media tends to not talk about them anymore, and so people tend to forget. In some ways, they're in more need now. They really are more of a need now, and you can. There's one organization that has been very helpful to us, and that's Kids Without Borders. And you can find them if you go to our website that we've put up for the relief work, which is Friends of Mason at woodpress.com.
And Mason is, we're going to have it actually up on the screen.
Okay, MEYSEN.
SEN.
This is the name of our school. The name derives from the local district, name of the local district there, local area there. But we have, and then through that you can connect up to this organization, which is a nonprofit organization where you can get your tax deductible too. So they have been very helpful, and they have promised 100% across the board, and I think probably that would be the best way to go. But we really would appreciate any kind of help we can get, because the month of June is going to be a big month with summer clothes, the need for summer clothes.
John, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Well, you're amazing because you're going and doing something. And, I know you're just an ordinary guy, but you're out there doing something, and it's changing the lives of people.
Actually, I've talked to the 2 different school principals from L.A. and also to one of the two people that individuals right on the fronts that are in need. So,
John, God bless you.
Yeah,
thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
And what you're doing. Thank you for watching.
In the passion.